Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words and become much more articulate. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down one of my blogs called 6 Traits of Someone with High Self-Esteem. Before we break these traits down, I want to explain what exactly is self-esteem. Our minds are wired in some ways for imagery. And it loves imagery so much that it has a thing called the self-image. The self-image is not just two words that are mashed together. If you break it down, it's a complex system in itself. Imagine Ricky. Ricky, it seems as though has everything on paper. He has a lot of accolades. He has a lot of money. He's in shape. But Ricky has poor self-esteem. The reason that he has poor self-esteem is because what people don't know is that his wife is leaving him and his kids hate him. This is something that he deems very important. And due to him deeming this important and him not having it in his life, now what he does is that he plays the comparison game. Everywhere he looks, he sees other people with a happy wife, happy kids, and a happy life. What happened to Ricky? Where did he go wrong? Want to know something else? A lot of the individuals that Ricky is very jealous of, they are equally as jealous of Ricky. I call this dual jealousy. They look at him and they're like, look at this guy. He has all the accolades, the money, he's in shape. I got a beer belly from watching Sunday Night Football. I mean, what's going on? So the self-esteem is something that when you view it as too simplistic, you begin to undermine it. There's a lot of factors that go into creating this self-image. And I'm going to explain some of the traits of people that have high self-esteem, that feel good about themselves, especially when they look across the mirror. So if you're ready to hear the first trait, go on and drop that like for me right on below. Let's get started with the first one, which is they are working on a project. It doesn't matter what kind of project it is, but it has to be some sort of thing that they are working on. And here's why. The mind is normally geared for negativity. That's one of its traits. The mind is a problem-solving machine. That's another one of its traits. When it doesn't have any sort of project to work on, what happens is that it leans towards negativity. And you know this problem-solving machine that you have, it begins to create problems. That's what happens. When you don't feed it problems from the project that you're working on, it creates these problems out of the most minuscule things. Hey, why is the mailman 12 minutes late? Normally he's exactly on time. I gotta find this person's employer and I need to get him fired, right? It starts to make a big deal out of all these tiny little things. And another thing that happens is that when you mix in a lack of productive problems with the negativity bias, that's when you get anxiety. And when you get anxiety, you begin comparing yourself left and right with all types of people. So you got to work on some sort of project. It doesn't matter which religion that you follow, which philosophy that you follow. All these different philosophies and religions say the same thing. Too much time is not a good thing. The next trait is that they help others up. There's this very popular radio jock. His name is Charlemagne the God. And roughly around 2011 is when I first heard of him. And his come up was mainly because he would ask you whatever. Where a lot of these reporters, they weren't asking the celebrities the raw questions. Charlemagne would ask a celebrity whatever was on his mind. The audience members loved how unfiltered Charlemagne was. And I believe that the adoration that Charlemagne was getting was just fueling his ego, and he began to get very negative towards these artists right? One of the individuals that he attacked on live air was Chingy, another rapper, and Charlemagne is just putting him down the entire interview. He's like, your music is whack. I don't even know how you're an artist. Who would pay to listen to your music? And he just tearing this guy down. The audience members loved it. Charlemagne continued to be negative. He continued to put other people down, and it was working. For a long time, his show, The Breakfast Club, was on top of the world. Now fast forward to 2022, he's a different guy. Rather than always putting other people down, he advocates for mental health a lot. And I was like, do people in the new generation who are seeing Charlemagne for the first time know what a negative presence he used to be? I don't know if they're capable of knowing that, but Charlemagne knows. And he says that in a lot of interviews, he used to put other people down because he had a poor self-esteem. Growing up, his dad would put him down a lot, and that just affected him. His childhood influenced his adulthood, and just subconsciously, he would put other people down to feel powerful. This is the opposite of what a person with high self-esteem does. They know how to be funny without always putting other people down. That's because they're helping other people up towards their level. So when you see someone that is over here always putting other people down, always cracking jokes, always being a wise Alec, understand that this is a stage in their life, but in the future, they're going to regret this sort of behavior. The next one is they avoid gossiping too much. I have a very unique perspective regarding gossiping. I believe that gossiping is something that's primal. When you're breaking down fame, like what is fame? Think about it. It's a very deep question. Anyone that we consider famous, they are a human being with a lot of spotlight on them. Now, how are they getting all this spotlight on them? Through technology. It could be through YouTube, TikTok, it could be through mainstream media, etc. But there is some form of technology that is amplifying this presence. Before this sort of technology, I believe our ancient ancestors would, once words were becoming a thing, they would gossip a lot. They would share information through gossiping. Notice something. It doesn't matter if it's in the East or the West. There's some form of gossiping that's going on when multiple humans are gathered into a group. So I believe that was one of the first forms of fame out there, but that was bounded to geographic location. So that's why I said that they avoid gossiping too much. I believe a lot of people, even people that have a high self-esteem, every now and then they do gossip, and it doesn't always have to be in a negative way. It could sometimes be in a positive way. Hey, did you hear that Pablo closed that deal with that client? And we should throw him a surprise party or something. That's a form of gossiping because other human beings are involved. But the reason that I put they avoid gossiping too much is because normally when you're talking about other humans for too long, you're normally tilting towards the negative side of it. And you'll normally see individuals that are always talking about other people. Did you hear about this? Did you hear this kid went to jail for X, Y, and Z? Eventually, they start to program this command to their subconscious mind, which is, hey, care a lot about other people's opinions, because they themselves care so much about talking about others that it's just this toxic loop that keeps on reducing their self-esteem. Avoid gossiping too much. Avoids following a herd. Just because 1,000 people say that this is what you have to do, you don't have to do it the same exact way. Because every single human beings, their experiences are very different. So this is something that I could talk about for a while. I did make a video a while back called Learn How to Think for Yourself, aka The Independent Thinker. I'll link it right on in the description box or in the card if you're watching from your laptop. But the point being, you have to build some sort of critical thinking skills if you want to have high self-esteem. Otherwise, it's just too easy to do what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is putting other people down. They're gossiping too much. A few of the traits that are opposite to this list. So if you follow the herd mentality, eventually self-esteem will plummet. If you begin carving out a lane for yourself, eventually self-esteem will rise. Number 5, they are teachers. Teaching is a very powerful way to add value. But in order to teach, this person had to work on some form of project. They had to do something. They had to learn the art of simplifying complex topics into simplicity. You see these individuals that speak in a simple way, but they're consistently dropping wisdom. They didn't just get like that. It took them years and years of practice and refining, and they got to a certain level. Now here's the thing. A lot of individuals that become highly skilled, they're like, okay, I'm just gonna keep this all to myself. I'm not gonna share this with anyone. And the more that they keep having this scarce mentality towards opinions and information about all this other stuff, the worse off it is for them, because now they're just thinking that other people are over here trying to sabotage them. Now granted, a lot of people are trying to sabotage this person because he rose to the top. That's what happens. But the high self-esteem person is like, well, I'll give away information regardless, because here's the thing. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm consistently learning. And the more that I'm learning, the more that the information that I taught, it's going to be just something else within my arsenal. I have many more information to share, so therefore they are teachers. And the final one is that they are a hype man. A hype man is not someone who's a cheerleader and is over here grabbing pom-poms and just hyping you up like a clown. A hype man is hyper observant of the little meaningful details, and they know how to amplify it. This is one of those individuals that will hear certain things that you just brought up very quickly, or they'll notice something physically about you, and they know how to bring more and more awareness to it. I had a friend like this a while back. There was this one time I was supposed to go from Tampa to Orlando. There was this, I got delayed at work. There was this car accident on the road. I had to park a couple of miles away from the party location. And by the time I walk from the far location to the party, because it was Uber and Lyft wasn't really a thing back then, I'm over here tired. I'm sweating. I'm feeling exhausted. And all these individuals in the party are like, finally you're here. And they go back to partying. But there was this one guy. It was his birthday. He was the star of the show. And he hears about what went on. And I'm just briefly bringing it up. And he's like, wait. You were stuck at work late. You were stuck in traffic for a long time. And you parked in that neighborhood? That's far away. You must be exhausted. This person was a hype man because he was able to notice a lot of these little details and he was able to amplify it. Someone who has high self-esteem is capable of doing that, while someone with low self-esteem is just thinking about, how can I make the conversation about me? So this is another part of having a high self-esteem. Be the hype man, and hype man in this context means someone who is observant. So these were the 6 traits of someone who has high self-esteem. Which ones resonated with you? Any of them? Do you know people that have these sort of traits? If so, then you're in luck. These traits were never just given, they were earned. So if you enjoyed today's video, go on and drop that like for me right on below and share this video on your social media of choice so other people can level up their self-esteem. Thank you very much for joining the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you next time.